back at segment 2 of our conversation with Kelly Devos here for the Alzheimer's Association on the Muskegon Channel. I'm Andy O'Reilly. Kelly Devos is here. If you are just jumping in on our second segment here, Kelly is one of the, what's your distinction with the Alzheimer's Association? You're the chair this year.
This year I'm a co-chair for the event. So it's between Cindy Anderson and I, and we kind of put the whole thing together.
Yeah, you know the craziest thing? My wife, Cindy,
yeah.
her name was Cindy Anderson before I married her. Can you believe that? So crazy,
so
right?
as we say that, you're like, no,
I know.
she's not part of it.
I know. When I read that the other day, I'm like, whoa, Cindy Anderson, whoa, okay. So we've got a big event coming up September 21st down at Heritage Landing. And it's for the Alzheimer's Association. It's a big walk that goes on. It goes on every year. And I was asked this year to be the spokesman, which is something new, which, you know, it's like, okay, what do you want me for? I don't know anything about Alzheimer's disease, but I know Kelly. And Kelly has got a tremendous story. If you caught our first episode, we talked a little bit about her family and the history with it, both on her side and her husband's side. And we're getting to learn a little bit more about her dad, who is currently living with Alzheimer's disease right now. Where we left things off in our last episode, a little bit, thank you again for telling your story. I know it's not very easy for you. I know that the subject matter is difficult, but like we talked a little bit in our first episode, I think people just talking about this and relating it with somebody real. I mean, a real human being that's living through this type thing.
It's not a statistic.
Not a statistic. You're not on some website. You know, we are on some website, but you know, you're a friend and a neighbor, and I mean, you're right here from our area. I can be the spokesman, but what do I know, right? You live it day in and day out, and you have for quite some time. Mm-hmm. So where we left off in our last segment was about 1999. Your dad had a fall. Yeah. He was up on a ladder. He was fixing the roof or doing whatever, because that's what dads do. Right. Hey, there's a ladder. I'm going to climb it. And
been doing it for years.
Right. He fell.
You know, even in my childhood, he used to go to my great-grandparents' house and do their roof, you know, and get all the snow off. And so it's not like this is the first time that he had done this, and it wasn't, you know, it wasn't his first rodeo. Right. Just something he normally does. And for some reason, the ladder just, I think it ended up folding underneath of him, because I know they ended up having to get a new ladder. I don't know if it just slipped and then his weight ended up folding in or what, because I obviously didn't live at home. I was pregnant with my second one at that point in time. And, you know, we all rushed to the hospital. Thankfully, he had a broken back. They were able to fuse, you know, wasn't paralyzed. Right. Was able to. I was going to say, thankfully a broken back. I mean, thankfully he wasn't paralyzed. Thankfully he was not paralyzed. Right. You know, fuse the vertebrae together, and you know, he still has a lot of back pain. You know, obviously from the stiffness and stuff, and now especially being older, and he lost a few, like almost an inch. Well, now he is shorter than me. He's shorter, which is, you know, weird for me because I always looked up to both my mom and my dad, and then as I got older they started to shrink, and now I was like, wow, okay, I'm taller than you. Right. You know, that's a little hard for my dad. You know, my dad's here and I'm here now. But
I think that's because we're about the same age, I think. Yeah. And I think that's one of those things that anybody at our age, to watch those parents start to shrink. Yeah. And to watch your parents start to become vulnerable. Mm-hmm. in areas. I mean, you start to see signs in your mom and dad that you never imagined that you were going to see in these people, because let's face it, they're the parents. Yeah. They're infallible. They're incredible. They can do anything. They're always there. Yeah.
I used to think that my grandparents and my parents were immortal.
Right.
You know, they never aged. Nothing ever happened to them, and then my grandpa got sick with cancer.
Yeah, see.
You know, and then when he passed away, you know, it was a huge revelation for me, because my dad's parents died when he was very young. Yeah. So I've only had a grandma and a grandpa. Right. And so to have that mortality at my teenage years was kind of crazy. But yeah, going back to Dad. Yeah. Sorry, off subject.
That's okay. Hey, we're drifting. But that's
me.
That's communication though, and that's important.
Yeah, that's kind of how my mind works. Yep, and he falls, and you know, a few years go by, and he'd worked at a shop, and I think at that point in time he was working at a shop with my brother, or maybe I don't know. At one point in time they were working together, and you know, that's when we were starting to notice, okay, he was forgetting how to get to places. You know, my mom would tell me, oh, he forgot to get how to here, forgot to get here, and his personality would change a little bit.
How do you mean by that?
So my dad worshipped my mother.
Right.
My mom really couldn't do any wrong. You know, he loved her to pieces. That was, you know, his soulmate. And so if my mom would tell him where to go, because maybe he's starting to miss, he would yell at her for, I know where I'm going. But then if she didn't say anything, then he would yell at her because she didn't tell him where to go. You know, so my mom was in this no-win situation.
Right,
you know,
right.
No matter what she did. And as the years progressed, before she passed away, you know, she would call me up sometimes just crying because he would stand in front of her and just start screaming. That wasn't my dad. You know, he had a lot of anger.
Yeah.
A lot of anger. And grumpiness, you know, and when I would get over there, I would just get in his face about it and say, that's enough.
No.
Yeah.
You?
Me.
I would never imagine.
Never, right? Well, I would do it with a shaking hand, though, because you also grew up that you never talked back to your parents.
Right.
You know, what they said was law, and so I still had that in my head, but, you know, don't go off on my kids.
Right.
When they're just playing. You know, and being normal kids that you found fine with me. You know, you tend to have a little bit more of a tolerance with your grandkids than maybe your own kids.
Me? I let them do anything but burn down the house. I don't care.
His was less.
Yeah.
His was less, and I was just like, that's enough.
Yeah.
You know, and there were a few times even I had to defend mom. You know, a couple of times, but that was several years later after that. I mean, then now we're talking like the early 2000s.
Okay.
You know, so really just within the late 90s or maybe early 2000s, I should say, is you did notice he would forget where to go. You know, things that, once again, like one time my brother said, dad taught me how to use these calipers and now he can't remember how to use them.
Right.
You know, and he ended up getting let go of his job and just couldn't have, because of his age, find another one. So he ended up just taking like early retirement and just, you know, at 60, I think at 60 they finally just retired.
Yeah.
He did it.
Do you think your dad knew that something was wrong when he'd have these episodes?
No.
No. Okay.
No. Nope.
Do you think he knew that he was being out of character?
No.
No.
Nope.
Do you think he regretted these episodes?
I think if he would have realized how he was upsetting mom, he would be devastated.
Right.
Am I ever going to say anything?
Well, you really can't. I mean, it's out of his control.
It is. And it would only be that time that, you know, it would upset him. And why am I going to upset him?
Right.
You know, it really got bad. Gosh, I'm trying to think. My mom passed away in 2013. 2010 is when I started going, Mom, you need to do something. Now it's really noticeable.
Yeah.
Now it's, if he doesn't have a traumatic brain injury from
the fall,
and that now it's, you know, really showcasing itself, then he has the early warning signs of Alzheimer's. Because I started my position where I'm at now, with Shelby State Bank, I started in 2006.
Yep.
At that point in time, the bank president's wife had Alzheimer's. So the bank had gotten in and was doing things with Alzheimer's. And that's actually how I got involved.
Sure.
At that point in time, I had gone through my divorce. And, you know, as a single mom, I have always taught my kids that you may not be monetarily able to help out, but you can always give your time.
Sure.
So you may not be able to donate money, but you can donate your time.
Something.
And so that's how you can give back. And I've always felt that if you have something that you're not using and somebody else can, then they should be able to use it, or you give it to them. For me, that's karma. I've had things come back to me that, you know, it's come full circle. Yeah. Because there have been times that I needed something and somebody else says, oh, here, you know, I have one, I don't use it, here you go. So I'm always big about that. So I was right on board of, okay, let's go down, you know, and the kids and I would start getting involved in the walk. Yeah. And at first we were just walk participants. You know, we would go in and the bank would, you know, raise money for it, and then we were walk participants. Eventually one of the employees got involved in the committee. Sure. And then that's how we kind of got...
They rope you in.
Yeah. You know, we got involved. And so at that point in time, that's kind of, you know, I, once again, was okay, we had some time. I'll read through the literature, and see what's going on.
Sure.
And so I kind of read through some of the things with Alzheimer's, and that's how I started to recognize
signs with your dad.
The signs with my dad.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, Mom, you need to get him tested, Mom, and she would be like, oh, he goes back and he talked to the doctor. And I'm like, well, did you go back there though?
Right.
Did you go with the doctor and say anything? Oh, it's crucial because, Mom would always be like, no, they went, that's fine. And, everything kind of got put on a back burner when she got sick.
Yeah.
She was diagnosed in November of 2012 and ended up passing away in April of 2013. It was that fast. So during that time, everything with Dad just kind of got dropped.
Yeah.
And we thought, okay.
Well, it's understandable.
And at this point in time, actually by 2010, I think even Mom was driving.
Yeah.
So Mom had been driving for like 3 years because we couldn't trust Dad to drive that because would they be in the car and he'd blow through stop signs, he'd blow through lights. Yeah.
Scary stuff.
Yeah. And then when she got sick, we were up at Mercy, which been there forever.
Sure.
And we've always gone there. That was our main hospital, and I've been there a few times.
Haven't we all?
Yeah. My poor parents got a couple phone calls. Do you have a daughter named Kelly? She's in our emergency room.
Mine was always, oh, he's back again, and we think he drank a little something.
No, mine was, oh, she was in an accident.
Yeah, right. So
anyways, so we're up there, and Mom's in ICU, and all of a sudden I heard one of my aunt or my uncle ask my dad something about driving home, and he got lost driving home from Mercy. He's lived in the same house for 40 years. Mercy Hospital in Fruitport. Mercy on Sherman, and he got lost
between Sherman Avenue and Fruitport, which is really not that far if you're watching this from somewhere else.
Few turns.
Yeah, it's really not far.
You go through Cloverville, you just you turn
right there
on the hairline. Ta-da!
Right.
Yeah, and he got lost.
Wow.
And that's when it was like, okay, I can't deal with this right now.
Yeah.
I was trying to deal with Mom, and because of course Dad couldn't really make any decisions at that point in time either. He would get too confused about what was going on, so he would get confused on what the doctors were saying, and of course Mom was on so much pain medication.
She didn't know.
She couldn't.
Yeah. Neither
one could really do anything, so I had to be there the whole time and go, okay, this is, no, this is what was really said, or no, this is what we're doing, or and then trying to get all that out to the family.
And take care of your kids.
And take care of my own kids. And and work 40 hours a week because, if I didn't work, my bills didn't get paid.
Right.
So, it was stressful.
Yeah.
It was a little stressful.
Your dad's mindset in all this. I mean, he's sitting in the hospital. Here's his wife not doing well. Here's everything going on around him. He's clearly... I mean, from everybody looking out, outside looking in, he's starting, he's showing some more advanced signs of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Yeah. In his mind.
He thought he was fine.
Really? Mm-hmm. Even though he got lost and he knew it. But he still swore up and down he was fine. Mm-hmm. But is that just a man thing, or is that Alzheimer's?
I think it's a little of both.
Yeah.
After a while, once he got diagnosed, then, when I guess it's hard to explain for me because when he got diagnosed, he didn't get diagnosed until I took control.
Sure.
Because, we tried having him live on his own, not knowing he was as bad as he was because Mom was covering for a lot of it, and then all of a sudden I found out, here I am going down there every other week. To make sure he could go grocery shopping. And then I would take him grocery shopping on Wednesday, and my brother would come over on a Saturday, and he'd have to go grocery shopping again because he was out of food.
Really?
He wasn't out of food. He just didn't know how to put meals together. So if he didn't have a can of soup or a hungry man meal, he didn't know what to do.
Really? So even the basics of self-care and self-preservation and all that kind of stuff all started to slip.
Yeah. Yep. And like I said, it was a lot worse than what we had thought.
Yeah.
Because Mom had been doing so much for him, and it wasn't until we lost Mom that we really, really I realized how bad he was.
So you see it. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I just have one brother.
One brother. Where does the conversation with your brother start?
Do you really want that phone call? Is what I asked him. I said, he needs help.
Yeah.
He needs to do something. I said, because I don't know about you, but I don't want that phone call at 10 o'clock at night that he's burned the house down.
Yep.
Because he's fallen asleep making something on the stove, or he's fallen asleep smoking a cigarette. Or I said, do you really want that phone call that he's blown that stop sign, blown that light, and heaven forbid if he kills someone else?
Yeah.
I said, I don't want that on my conscience. To me, he was a danger.
Yeah.
Because by this point in time, I wouldn't let him drive if I was with him. But there were times that I had no control over that.
Sure.
He would go off. He would go to the gas station and buy cigarettes and then leave them there and then drive home. And then not know that he did that and go back the next day.
Yeah.
And buy more cigarettes. And, yeah, it was...
And your brother, how did he react?
Oh, he's fine.
Yeah. Your brother said he's fine.
He's fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so you've got another layer of the dynamic in here of tension and frustration and difficulty
and stress, because I was like, okay, is he going to kill somebody? Is
Yeah.
Is this going to be the day I'm going to get the phone call? Is this, so I finally kind of put my foot down.
Sure.
And said, Dad, your next doctor's appointment, I'm going back there with you. Because the previous ones, I'd be like, okay, well, did you do this? I might take him, but I couldn't go back there.
Yeah.
Because he's my father.
Sure, and he's an adult.
He's
right,
an adult.
Right.
He shouldn't need me back there. And so I would just sit in the waiting room and wait for him. And then I'm like, okay, well, did you tell him about this, this, and this? And he's like, no, I forgot.
Yeah.
So I'm going back there with you for the next one. So the next one we go back there and I sit there and I just don't say anything at first. And he's conversing with the doctor. And they're like, okay. And I'm just like, okay, I've had enough. I said, no. It's like this. It's like this. It's, and I just started, mentioning
You let loose.
everything. I did.
Yeah, we had to.
I'm like, this is enough. We're not getting the resolution that we need. And so they finally had elected to do a testing at the memory clinic.
Okay.
So that took about 3 months to get done. And of course they talked with me because really even at that point in time I was his primary caretaker.
And you had to take charge.
So yeah, I pretty much was in charge. And so they had talked to me and they did the testing with him, which I couldn't be back for, but they had also talked to me. And when they talked to me, there are 7 stages of Alzheimer's.
Okay.
The 7th stage is pretty much when they're in the vegetative state.
Right.
They don't know anything that's going on around
Nothing
them.
anymore.
They're pretty much bedridden.
And they're kind of lost in their own mind.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
They have no clue about anything that's going on around them. When I went back there, I said, based on what I've researched and knew about Alzheimer's, I said, he's already at stage 4. I said, he's at stage 4, and I'm starting to see some stage 5. Not a whole lot, but I've caught a couple glimpses of some of the things. And then, of course, we had the big reveal, is
Right.
what I call it. And my dad was there, my brother was there, and I was sitting in there. And I had felt validation in some respects, but frustration also, because they pretty much just said everything I had already been telling my dad and brother.
Wow.
I had pretty much already told my brother, this is where he's at. This is what, the issues are. He can't be on his own.
Yeah.
He really can't.
Can't. Let's hold it right there.
Okay.
We're going to move it on to the next segment.
Oh.
This is Kelly Devos, and we're talking about Alzheimer's disease. Her dad lives with it. Sure, your husband's parents live with it, and it's all working our way toward the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's, which is going to come up September 21st down at the Heritage Landing. All the links are here that you can learn more about it. If you and this conversation really is unscripted. It's just an honest to God conversation about the disease and how it affects families and things like that. You're doing amazing. She was worried. She was like, "Oh, I don't want to make you look bad." I'm like, "Oh, whatever." But this is, we're going to pick it up in the next segment about Dad can't be alone anymore.
No.
So if you want to know more about Alzheimer's Association, click on any of the links you're going to find here. If you want to be a part of it, you can learn more about that walk and come down and join us on September 21st at Heritage Landing. You can meet this woman here because for me being the spokesman, and what you talked about, what do we have that we can give back?
Yeah.
I'm not one of these guys that's got all this kind of money that I can just write a big check to the Alzheimer's Association and say, great.
But this, I think, is better.
But I've got this knack of pulling things out of people.
Yeah. You can get the word out.
And when I met you, I thought, there's a rock star, and I'm going to get her story. So, next segment, we're going to be talking about Dad Can't Live Alone Anymore, right back here with Kelly Devos on the Mosquito Channel.